Downhills are either one of those things that you love or you hate. I love them. I absolutely adore going downhill. It's my favorite part of technical off-road riding, but I think you need to have a really good grasp on the basics to find that enjoyment. You need to understand what you're trying to get the bike to do. So this week on MiniTip Monday, we're breaking down the basics of downhills. If you're new here, welcome to Brake Magazine. My name's Llel and I'm a journalist, off-road instructor and filmmaker. I do tutorials, bike reviews and travel videos. If you enjoy this video, liking and subscribing is massive for the YouTube algorithm, or taking a trip to my Patreon would be amazing. The primary basic for me of downhills is understanding how to use your brakes and what you're trying to achieve. Using our brakes off-road is the same as we should use them on-road. And the idea is that you want nice, consistent pressure through the lever and the foot pedal so that you're building the pressure and the weight on the tire. If you do anything like surprise the brake by grabbing it quickly or increasing the pressure at either lever quickly, you'll lock the wheel and then you won't have any grip and you won't have any slowing power. Learning to brake well is a fundamental part. And if you don't really know what I'm on about, you should go and practice this on the flat. Learning to start with light pressure and build that pressure over time will make a really big difference. And when you're doing downhills, generally, unless there's a sudden requirement to slow down more, you keep quite consistent pressure at the lever. Behind me is a nice entry-level downhill. On camera, it probably looks almost flat, but just around the corner, just out of sight, is a cheeky surprise. It drops off, it's rocky, and it suddenly becomes a lot more technical than it was at the start. And that's my next tip. Whenever you go into a downhill, you have to approach the bits you can't see within your ability level. As you get better and better at riding off-road downhill, you can deal with the consequences of things because you know the right reactions and how to use the brakes. But when you're starting out and you don't have those in there as muscle memory, you need to approach the bits you can't see in a way that allows you time to deal with the consequences. So for the first part of this downhill, I would probably use engine braking because it's pretty shallow, so first gear, nice and steady. But as I came to the bit I couldn't see, I would slow down a little bit more, apply a bit of brakes, maybe even bring the clutch in and go down to just below walking speed. Always treat hills that you can't see over the edge of as something to be wary of. Next up on the list is body position. I think when most people are starting out, their body position on the bike is really neutral and it's in the middle and it doesn't change that much when they go up or downhill. But the steeper the downhills get, the more you need to change your body position to adapt. What you're looking for is finding a position where your heels are down and your butt is back so that your arms can be light on the handlebars. That position allows you lots of control. It allows you to keep your own balance independent of the bike, and then you don't overload the bike in any way. You don't apply too much pressure to the handlebars, and you don't waste too much energy. The last thing on the list for me is understanding the tools that you've got to control your speed. When it comes to understanding the basics of controlling your speed downhill, we've essentially got two brakes and an engine, which also has a great deal of braking capacity and is a really nice safety net. With all motorbikes, each gear on your bike has a terminal velocity, a maximum speed it will reach in each gear without you applying throttle. That means that if I point my bike downhill and I leave it in first gear with the clutch out and no brakes, it will only ever go that speed. The only reason that you move on from using engine braking and we start to apply the brakes is because sometimes that speed feels way too quick for the hill we're on. The beauty of engine braking is it's always just one speed. Now the speed on this bike is quite high. It's too high for this hill, 20 kilometers an hour. And then we have to use some brakes. But here I can go back to engine braking and it's fine. So if I make a mistake, it's always my safety net. From there you can combine the two. So if you apply some brakes front and rear together to your engine braking and you're gentle with it, you can take a bit of speed away from whatever first gear is. And likewise, if you go below the speed that first gear can go and you get to the point where the engine is chugging, you need to take the drive away completely by pulling the clutch in and just relying on your brakes to do the slowing as if you were riding a bicycle. That's it. Those are the basics for going downhill. Body position, understanding what's coming, how to use your brakes, what brakes you've got available. Done. Nice and simple. I think learning to do downhills well is one of those things where you have to build up to it. If you're uncomfortable with downhills to start with, generally you need to give yourself a little bit of time to get comfortable with those lessons. Patreon, thank you very much for continuing your support with making these videos. It means a huge amount. Having a great time making them. Don't worry, for some of you, I think this tutorial was maybe a little bit on the basic side, but I wanted to cover all the bases for everyone. So now we're going to go and do one with Lucy where I'm going to take her to some downhills that are on the edge of her ability and where she can find some improvement. See you in the next one.